Hello there, my name is Cedric or Stupid You. I am the creator of FreeGameFindings. You might be having a little bit of deja vu with this video. Minisforum, the team that builds top-of-the-line fantastic mini PCs, had been expanding their catalog. Last year, the team launched their own series of network-attached storage devices. The N5 AI NAS and the N5 Pro AI NAS ended up being very well-received products that those in the networking or home lab scene, and beyond that of course, really dug. In November, I even got a chance to take a look at an N5 Pro AI NAS that was sent to me by Minisforum and concluded that it was a wonderful machine, if only hindered by being overkill and expensive because of that. They're powerful and well-designed systems that many love, but some may not love the price. Minisforum heard those complaints and opted to create a cheaper version of the product, and I'm so excited to show it off to you right here. I was sent the N5 Air NAS by Minisforum. It's lighter than the last one. I can show it a little easier. So I could compare it to the Pro that they sent me before. Stay tuned until the end of the video to learn more about how you can win yourself one of 5 controllers from the Minisforum product line over on the FGF subreddit. With that out of the way, let's unbox and look at my N5 Air AI, NAS. Packaged in this box that I slightly cut up yet again, we reveal the product box. A quick look around, including a brief tease on the side here. Now let's pop it on open. In we find 2 small boxes and the big boy covered on up. First box has the faceplate for the hard drive bays, which is quite familiar. Magnetically attaches, real nice looking. I kinda rather like it off though, to be totally honest, but it's probably better for dust. Next up is the accessory box for things like cables, my region's power cable, a small Ethernet cable, and a small HDMI cable. Short, I guess short is the word. And screws for the storage and stuff like that. Also on the side is the power brick, not buried into the bottom of the box this time, I guess. Next up, we can take a crack at getting the big guy out of the box. It didn't go so well last time. Thankfully, it was a bit easier this go around. After popping the sleeve off, we can take a look at the star of the show, the N5 Air itself. Immediately, I can feel a difference in weight as I waggle it around here. Everything else seems very similar to what I remember. The same hard drive sled bays, all 5 of them, same front and back I/O. This one is plastic, so I guess it may not feel as premium as the Pro did to me, but I can't say that's too big of a deal, of course, especially so if it results in a cheaper price. Let's pop open one of the hard drive sleds quick here. You can mount 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drives in each of the 5 sleds. In the back, we get a peek at the board connecting these drives to the computer at the bottom of the machine, and speaking of that, let's get that bottom bit open and take a look at the core of the system. We see here another familiar sight, nice screen printing on our motherboard, a fan here to cool some M.2 slots, a USB port near the front for, I don't know, service I assume. Maybe you can just use it like normal? I don't know, probably, right? The back of the CPU socket, etc, etc. Flipping it over, we see the exposed full PCIe X16 lane for an expansion card of some kind, the CPU cooler, which is working on the Ryzen 7 255 CPU housed beneath it, and a fan that covers the RAM. Speaking of RAM, the system that I got was configured with a single stick of crucial 16GB SODIMM DDR5 5600 megatransfer memory. Single stick can actually be a bit of a performance hit on AM5, but for my use of a NAS, it won't be that much of an issue really. Still would rather it be dual channel if I could. It is something to mention at the very least. Next up, I'll pop the fan off of the other side and take a look at the SSD that I was given as the boot drive. Look how little. It's almost adorable. Not too adorable knowing that they're going for a cheaper SSD in these machines, you know, due to the current market, but it is what it is, I guess. The 64GB stick, a Samsung CKTM4R, which actually apparently is more of an eMMC thing. I'm quite unfamiliar with that, funny enough, but whatever the case, will likely be plenty for any OS that I would use with a NAS, so it's probably fine. And of course, you can see the other 2 SSD lanes right there beside it. With everything out of the box, let's take some inventory. First, some accessories. We've got the faceplate, the power brick, our assortment of cables and screws. Then the big focal point here will be the main machine itself in its little sled thing. So much power in such a small box. Sliding it safely back into the enclosure now, we can see the NAS all put back together. And now all it needs is a bunch of drives. Before we move on, let's take a moment to physically compare the Pro to the Air a little. Let's bring the N5 Air's big brother, the N5 Pro, into the fold. Seeing them side by side should make it quite clear it's the same design. For some reason, they flipped the Minisforum logo stamp thing here from one side to the other between products. I don't really know why, but hey, there's a difference difference to mention. Either way, very familiar indeed. You can immediately tell the difference when you start to lift the two of them up, whether it's down to the feel of the texture doing it or the 1 kilogram weight difference. It's very clear that one is more premium than the other, you know, when you got them both in your hands. With the unboxing and brief comparison out of the way, let's start reviewing the N5 Air NAS a little bit. Right out of the gate, again, this is pretty much the same product as the N5 base model, but made with plastic instead of aluminum, which contributes to a drop in weight from 5 kilograms to 4 kilograms. Oh, and there's also no included U.2 adapter board, like what I had with the N5 Pro, but I'm not completely sure that the non-Pro even had that. Support for U.2 is noted on the store page for the Pro and non-Pro, so I think it's safe to say that it did. Another difference is that the Air is spec'd out with a smaller 64GB SSD, which actually is an eMMC thing, so, you know, keep that in mind. For the OS by default, damn you AI data centers, and that's basically it. Most of the same thing as the base. The spec list is organized slightly differently on the information pages on their site, so I put some focal points into a table of my own. It's pretty redundant considering, but there are some bits to show, I suppose. Hey there, just jumping in mid-edit here because I originally ran through way too much of this table, pretty much verbatim, kind of going into way too much detail when I really didn't need to. Feel free to kind of run through it as it's just, you know, on screen scrolling by. The main thing to really drive home here is that we are primarily comparing the N5 Air to the N5 base model, but the Pro is there as well, so you can actually get a good grip for what is actually different along the road. As you can tell, there are plenty of similarities that are going to be kind of hard to miss, so much so that I'm almost worried that I at some point ended up copying the text over incorrectly. We do get to a quick difference though, in that the storage has a slightly lower max capacity, reason being because the Air does not come with the expansion U.2 support. That is a thing to mention, you technically have a lower capacity. Another difference comes down to the weight pretty quickly. There is a 1 kilogram difference, again because of the whole aluminum versus plastic thing. And then of course the price, there is a big difference. Looking at what is, I believe at least, currently the standard or non-sale price for each product, the N5 Pro is running you $1,660, the N5 base $1,040, and the N5 Air $870. Some things not noted on the chart are pretty basic ones, like the fact that they support the same operating system and same audio outputs, stuff like that. I still personally disregard their OS, as I'd rather use something a bit more well established. So for me, it's going to be something like a true NAS or whatever else. And hey, I could see people throwing Windows on this still, just a thing to mention. One possible valuable thing to remind is that with a full plastic design, it's possible you might get hotter temps in the N5 Air, since plastic is a thermal insulator. Depending on your workload, that could be meaningful. Oh, and at least from the base config that includes RAM, you're likely only going to be getting single stick on the Air, and maybe the non-Pro models. That too can be a performance hit depending on the workload. Or well, I guess that one actually is just in general a performance hit, but one that you maybe won't be noticing depending on your workload. Now for a discussion on actual use. As we know, my use of the N5 Pro was never going to stress the system. It is a NAS first and foremost for me. I'm not running VMs, I'm certainly not doing AI tasks, it's pretty basic in my hands. My only real complaint that I had with the N5 Pro came down to it being an overkill system that held a high cost. For the specs, that was reasonable, really. The issue was that as a NAS, it seemed a bit silly. It's just so much. It could honestly be somebody's daily driver PC with a fancy storage bay, no problem. So now that I've taken a look at this new one here, the Air, I can safely say it's a step in the right direction in many ways, but is still based on the same architecture and specs, mostly, that contribute to it being a higher cost for the product stack. $870 for an N5 Air NAS as the base price, according to their store page at least. This NAS will still blow so many others out of the water in terms of spec. The consideration spent in design and the structure of it is fantastic as per usual. The problem is that I personally just don't know what kind of workloads you would need to be putting into your NAS to really stress the system and make the most of it. The R7-255 is still pretty overkill for a NAS for most people. If you're aiming to do so though, it's going to be a great option. I just know of NAS systems being thinner generally. We lost a bit of a premium feel with the system no longer being aluminum, but that is a fine trade-off, I would think. One quick note on that price stuff though. There's a little bit of a point to make for this one. Back when I first made the N5 Pro video, back when I planned the first giveaway giveaway on FGF promoting Minisforum, and even now as I'm working on the N5 Air video script. The entire lineup has been listed as being on sale. Pretty consistently occurring sales are afoot on their official store, it would seem. That isn't all though. You can also snag Minisforum products on sites like Amazon or AliExpress, and I'm sure plenty others. Prices will vary there too. What I'm getting at with all of this is that while I have spoken about the cost being a bit high for a NAS due to the specs in it, there are also opportunities to grab any of the N5 products on discounts. You can wait for a killer deal, you can snag base models and source cheaper parts yourself. While I'm not saying that the cost they're charging for the N5 Pro, base, or Air are unreasonable ones, I am saying that you could also go deal hunting for them and come out with a better price than expected, which can certainly help. In conclusion, the N5 product line continues to be a solid design with high specs. The Air is a great product that aimed to drop the price with small changes, yet results in pretty much the same experience as the non-Pro variant. Minisforum was able to reuse many of the same points that they had already nailed and brought down the overall cost a little bit to be more competitive. I still do hope that they can create a more ultra-budget version as they develop their NAS lineup still. That said, if you're into the design and can utilize the high performance on display, or just don't care about the overkill-ness of it, then you now have a third option in the stack for a slightly lower price without much really being sacrificed at all, unless you love U.2 and metal. The long and short of it is that the N5 Air is a great entry into the NAS scene and a great option in the N5 stack. Just be wary of things like the price and potentially going for your own sourced RAM and SSDs if you wish. With all of that said and done, be sure to check out the giveaway currently live on FreeGameFindings for your chance at one of 5 MGP01 controllers from Minisforum. Customizable back paddles, all linear triggers, carbon film joysticks, a turbo button, PC/Switch/mobile phone support. All of that sounds pretty good for your controller needs. Happy to work on a promotion like this with Minisforum yet again. Thank you for watching. Huge thanks go out to Minisforum for supplying the N5 Air NAS, and of course originally the N5 Pro, and the controllers for the FGF giveaway that is going on right now. I hope this has been a fun and enjoyable discussion about their new and more cost-conscious version of their NAS products. Be sure to check out Minisforum's store to snag your very own N5 Air, N5 Base, or N5 Pro NAS, or any other great stuff of theirs if you like. I've been Cedric. Feel free to check me out on my personal projects and to keep an eye on FGF as per usual. Thank you for watching and enjoy.